Thank you very much, Maria, and hello, everybody. Greetings from the Monaghan jury. Um, the, the area I grew up in, it was a bit of a dead end. We lived on a road out towards the border. Not a lot happened out there. And you would think you wouldn't be very in touch with the rest of the world. But I had an uncle, he was an old farmer, and he used to call into the house. And when I was a teenager, he would call in and he would tell us stories. And I'd like the stories he told and I'd listen to them. And years later, I found similar stories in a book of the Grimm brothers fairy tales, only they were written uh, with the locality that they were told in Germany. And what I had heard was the same story, but in Ireland. And it just gave me always a great sense of how connected stories make people all around the world. That the folk tales that we tell are so similar. And one of the stories he told me was about a family out in Davenant, and they were, I'm not going to say their real name because all the families in Davenant, there's a lot of very similar names and they all have nicknames. So we'll only use the nickname. But this family, the nickname was Martha. And there was a brother and sister, John and Kate. And John was 32 years old, but as the country people would say, there was a wee want in him. You know, he just wasn't the full shilling. The lights were on sometimes, but nobody was home. So John, the only thing that he did in life was he hoarded their cow along the long acre. And for anyone who doesn't know what the long acre is, it's the grass on the side of the road and you have to walk a long way before you get an acre of it. And John's sister, Kate, as slow as he was, she was sharp. If you burned her for a fool, you'd have wise ashes. She was the cleverest woman in the parish, so she was. And the two of them lived together quite happily. They were very poor. They only had the one cow. They didn't have much else, but they were very happy in life. And one day, John was out herding his cow along the long acre, along the side of the road, when he saw a cart coming up the road. And on the back of the cart was the landlord's agent. And as he went past, John stood into the ditch with his head down because he didn't want important people looking at you. And he watched the cart go along down the road past him. And roads that time were a lot more uneven, and the cart wheel hit a stone and it bounced up into the air. And when it hit the road again, a bag fell off the back of the cart. Now, the cart was a long way past John, but a hungry eye sees far. And John went down the road and he picked up the bag and he looked inside and it was full of money. And oh, home he went like a shot to his sister Kate, in through the door into the house. Kate, 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 look what I found, Kate. She said, what did you find, John? He said, a bag of money. Look at it. Well, Kate looked in and she was very impressed because she'd never seen as much money in her life. But she knew that this money was lost and it would be looked for. And she'd have to come up with some method of keeping the money. And she'd have to come up with it quick. So she said to John, John, sit down at the table there and count what's in that bag. And then we'll divide it between the two of us. So John says, well, that's a great idea, Kate. I wouldn't have thought of that. And he put the bag on the table. And he opened it up and he reached in and he took out a coin and he said, one. And then he put his hand in and he took out another one. He said, three. And he put his hand in. And Kate said, John, John, John. She said, what are you at? You know, two comes after one, not three. He said, oh, that's right. So I'll start again. One, of two, three, 7, 9. She said, John, sure, that's not proper counting at all. Can you not count? He said, but you Kate, I never went to school. I never learned how to count. And she says, well, that's going to change now. You're going to school tomorrow. So the next morning, he was sent to Knocknagrave School, a one-room school with the big 6th class students and the small low infants, and he had to sit with the small low infants. And he was that big a man, 32 years old. He had to sit at the desk on his knees, and the children all laughed at him, and the older children got their compass points and they stuck them in his bum. And whenever he roared, the teacher would shout at him and give him a clatter with a cane. And oh, he had an awful time in school. So the minute the lunch bell sounded, he went running home to his sister Kate. He said, Kate, he said, I don't care if I never learn to count, I'm not going back to school. And she said, well, don't you worry about it, John. You go back along the road and mind your cow. So John went back out along the road, and that's just what he did. He minded his cow. And a few days later, he noticed a cart coming along the road again with the landlord's agent. Only this time, there were 2 constables along with the agent. And they seemed to be searching in the hedges as they came along the road. And as they passed John, he was watching them, and he said, did you lose something? Oh, indeed we did, said the landlord's agent. We lost a bag of coins along the road here the other day. Oh, well, I found them. Oh, did you, my good man? He says, I did indeed. And what did you do with them? Well, I gave them to me sister Kate. And the agent said, well, hop up on the cart beside me and we'll go home and we'll see your sister. So back to John and Kate's little house they went, and in through the door, and Kate was making bread and she had the apron on and the flour everywhere. And they walked in the door, and when she saw who it was, she dusted herself down. She said, oh, your lordship, come in, we'll have a cup of tea. Oh, no, my good lady, he said, we're not stopping at all. We're just here to collect a bag of coins that this good gentleman found on the road the other day, and he gave them to you. She said, don't mind him. Don't mind him at all. He's not right in the head, you know. He wouldn't know what he was talking about half the time. Well, the bailiff looked at John, and the landlord's agent looked at John. He said, well, did you find a bag of coins, my good man, or didn't you? John says, I did find a bag of coins. Sure, you remember it, Kate. Kate said, John, you found no coins at all. I don't know what you're talking about. I did find them. She says, when did you find them? The other day. She said, what day? Sure, it was the day before I went to school. And the landlord's agent looked at her, looked at him, looked at the 2 constables and said, we'll trouble you no more, ma'am. We'll be on our way. And that was the end of the story.